knowing he was going to testify, right? He was going to testify to Congress, and he mentioned inflation go higher due to the new variant. And he was suggesting, like, ports could get closed, could have further supply disruption. So, we knew that going in. And I was just like, look, he's like stuck. He is so stuck. And you should have been raising rates before this. And the longer you wait, the more factors you bring in. Now we have like a new variant that's scaring the shit out of somebody. I'm like, now he can't, they're not going to raise rates. There's no way they're going to raise rates and taper quicker. And he went on just a day or two later saying, we need to raise rates. I mean, their timing couldn't have been worse. And the Fed's not used to spooking the markets, right? They usually say what they're going to do. This really, nobody had a clue. And nobody had a clue that he was going to say, listen, we got to push this up. I thought he was going to say, well, we got to wait because the economy can get worse. That's how worried he is about inflation. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise on that front. I don't. There's no reason to panic here because everything is calculated. So it wasn't just a shooting from the hip from his perspective. He knows what he's doing, blaming the next variant. And people need to listen to this and get used to this because we kind of joked about this in the past, not joking like ha-ha, but the way this is being handled and, the Delta variant, these are going to continue forever. So anytime you see these kind of pullbacks, and you mentioned this, and this is a boring answer. Nobody likes to hear this, but longer-term investors can basically ignore most of this. Mm-hmm. But just get used to this. Get used to this around election time. We're going to talk about a few political hacks coming up, one that you know well. And, Powell, listen, he's using the variant for an excuse. They are trapped. He's just saying, if he is actually nervous now, I would like to, he's in front of the hill again today. Mm-hmm. So today is day 2 of the testimony. So we'll sift through some of that, see if he elaborates anymore. But yeah, I mean, he should have said this a long time ago. It's about time, and it was a good pullback. Dow's off, I think, 6%. Russell's down over 10% from the highs, not counting today, obviously, as the market's rallying. But yeah, it was a good little shocker and added some volatility.
Yeah, I mean, you've been saying transitory, I went back to for 9 months. Right, we've been covering this and saying, and you know this. This is something I didn't have to tell you, that times are different now. You're handing checks directly to people. We're talking about, 20x the amount of money you're handing people directly compared to what you just put into the banks during TARP, right? The numbers on we talk about trillions like it's nothing, and they just went nuts. And again, they shut down everything, so I get it. But now when everything got back to normal and better than normal, all the asset classes are much, they're all at record highs, basically, other than gold, of course. And earnings, you're seeing earnings surge. Earnings are above, they have record earnings this quarter, right? They're already above pre-COVID levels in 2019. So we're back to normal, yet, all this money has been injected into the market and you keep interest rates low. For me, I was like, when is this going to, if you're keeping rates low and you're not going to taper, and taper is really nothing, guys. I mean, the time it's going to take taper is going to take, 9 months, a year, whatever. It's very little in the scheme of things when you look at the numbers. But it just looked like, hey, just keep buying the dip, keep buying the dip, keep buying the dip. Because this guy, who thought that they were going to keep interest rates low this long for like 11 years, other than a slight period and then taking that back right away. And, just to see where the markets are right now with inflation and, for us, it's not a surprise. But when you go on and you're supposed to, the way the Fed is, especially since 2008, 2009, is when they're going to do something, they start like 6 months, 9 months, and they start saying, hey, here's what's going to happen. This is what we're looking at. This way they prepare, right? There's no surprises. For him to come on and just, to me, that it was a big surprise. It was a big surprise because it's a guy telling us, don't worry about inflation. Don't worry about inflation. Don't worry about inflation. It's going to go down. It's going to go down. It's going to go down. Now, all of a sudden, you switch. And I think it's important to note because he used the excuse for the new variant. And there's no news on the new variant. There's no news. So basically, you're using that event to say that you were wrong. And now what are you going to do? Because if you're raising rates here, you're looking at even crypto companies at $30-40 billion market caps that barely have a utility. The amount of money that's out there and people raising 20-30 million like it's nothing in days. A lot of that's going to get washed out of the system. And that's why you're seeing the big pullback in small caps and risk assets, right? So, that was interesting to me. Inflation's here. To me, it seemed like a guy that's very, very, very scared of inflation now over the next year. And this is something that we've been talking about. And why is it transitory? I have no idea why I thought it was going to be transitory. But, this is the first time where these companies can raise prices almost by whatever they want. Not by 200-300%, but by 10, 15, 20, 30%. And they're okay. They're making their money because we're handing checks. Our government's handing checks to everybody. Everyone's spent. That's why you're looking at Black Friday sales. We're flat. I don't even know. You can go back how long that they were flat year over year, but they were flat because everyone was spending all the money that they were given for the last 6 months and bought everything that they wanted. So it wasn't a surprise. But inflation's here. I guess it's how you're going to position yourself. But And
yeah, and
that's what
only
we should go into.
one day doesn't make a trend, but it was good to see Apple go up. I mean, a lot of money flows into quality, so know what you own, know why you own it. And like I said, for events like that, when things get triggered and everything just kind of gets washed out and you have a lot of volatility, that's okay. So that's going to happen. Expect more of that and use that to your advantage.
No, definitely. And when it comes to inflation, it's the same playbook, right? I mean, companies with pricing power, you're looking at the reopen names that just got hit. I love like airlines are surprised that they're trading at. Again, we're going to reopen. I don't think this is going to be a big deal, even if it is. We're going to see traveling come back. We already saw it come back enormously. And the quarters that they reported were very, very strong, right? And people are still traveling in the U.S. Yeah, it's all open. And even hotels as well have pricing power. Banks, good inflationary, right? As rates go higher. Oil, probably a good buy on the huge pullback. And that was a very, very big pullback for oil. Crypto, and not just Bitcoin, a lot of great names out there, technologies. And, I covered that in our Crypto Intelligence newsletter. But what I'd be worried about here is restaurants, apparel companies, places that had pricing power, because everybody has pricing power now. But what happens when you turn the faucet off? What are they going to pay for? Because you have tons of competition in this space, right? So and that's going to be a big difference, like the Nikes and the Kohl's and stuff like that. Like you can go to different places, right, and get similar clothes and similar things. And, now the department stores have come back sharply. But now it's like, okay, who has the cheapest prices? It's not just like, people just like spending money like it's crazy. But, I'd go with McDonald's and Wendy's because those are places that you can still eat very, very cheap for a family. And yes, I know it's fast food is not that healthy, but still it's cheap instead of maybe the Shake Shack, which had a nice move, Wingstop. Dine Equity owns IHOP and Applebee's. IHOP is breakfast. I mean, Denny's is much cheaper. You got other options. Applebee's too. Maybe people are going to say, Applebee's a little bit expensive. Maybe I'll just go to a McDonald's or a Wendy's or someplace else. Again, not apples to apples comparison, but that's how you have to look at the market. Like, who's going to have pricing power? Right now, you say, well, everyone has pricing power. Look at earnings. That's not going to be the case. We're seeing names drop off that don't have pricing power. Disney doesn't have pricing power with streaming, right? They're giving it away again. Peloton, Peloton has gotten crushed, but there's a lot of names that we're seeing. The Cloroxes that when you don't have pricing power, man, these things really come down. And you got to position your portfolio because inflation's here. It's not going away. And that's going to be a massive, you think it's a big theme now. Wait till next year. I mean, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, well said. There's really no reason to expect it to slow down. I'm bullish on oil and have been for some time. That's been a rocky road, but it's not just a supply and demand issue, which is what I want to get across on. I mean, it's good for inflation because commodity prices rise during times of inflation, so you definitely want to have exposure to that. In addition to supply and demand, you also have political headwinds and or tailwinds, depending on how you want to look at that. OPEC is meeting again today, or I think it's kind of a spur of the moment meeting. They're going to talk about the variant. They're going to kind of ebb and flow that as need be. But you have a lot of anti-carbon headwinds out there from politicians, and that's going to help drive the prices up. And that's what you need to pay attention to. And that's great for an inflationary environment. So, yeah, don't expect it to go away. Expect a lot more volatility. And, that's all right.